Kelson. I'm a certified master baker and an instructor at Kendall College. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a lavender honey macaroon with a lavender honey dark chocolate ganache. I'm going to begin by making an Italian meringue. I'll take my sugar and I'm going to combine that with some water and some honey. I'm using lavender honey here to pick up on the flavor of the lavender that I will use in the ganache for the filling. I'll give this a gentle stir to hydrate all of that sugar well, and then I'll cook this mixture to 240 degrees, also known as softball. The addition of honey in our sugar mixture will prevent crystallization of sugar while I'm cooking. I'm taking one addition of my egg whites and I'm going to whip them until they're frothy. Once my egg whites are frothy, I'll just hold that mixture until my sugar has cooked to 240 degrees. In the meantime, I'm going to sift together confectioner's sugar and almond flour in equal quantities. This is also called tante pour tante. You can make your own almond flour if you're having difficulty finding almond flour by taking blanched almonds, raw, and processing them together in a food processor with an equal amount of confectioner's sugar. It's important that you regularly sift it so that you have a nice even grind and that you don't run that processor continuously or you'll end up with a nut butter. I'm going to take my tante pour tante, my equal parts almond flour and confectioner's sugar, and deposit it into a wide mouth bowl. I'm adding my second addition of egg whites to that mixture, and I'm going to stir this together until it is thoroughly combined. This is a surprising amount of work. It starts out looking like it's going to be simple and easy, but before you know it, you get a complete workout. Macaroons are one of the hotter trends right now, but making a macaroon well is harder than it would seem. So I want to see that every last bit of my confectioner's sugar has been totally hydrated. And once I've done that successfully, I'm going to add some food color to this. The paste does not need to be colored, however, it gives you a shell that might indicate the flavor that you're using in the finished product. I put in 4 drops of violet because we're using this for a lavender macaroon. And it's important that you have the color uniformly distributed so that you have a uniform colored shell. Again, I'm cooking the sugar, honey, and water solution to 240 degrees or softball. I'm careful not to agitate the pot to avoid crystallization. If my sugar crystallizes, I will need to start over. I have honey in here, however, which will help inhibit that crystallization of sugar. You may check your sugar temperature with a thermometer. I prefer to use my hands. I always want ice water in my station anytime I'm dealing with sugar cookery. Upon dipping it in cold water, I should be able to make a soft ball of sugar. I'll shock it to stop the cooking just for a moment. And then I'll have my whites whipping on high speed. I want to be careful when I'm pouring my sugar in that I'm hitting between the side of the bowl and the whisk itself so that all of the sugar is part of the formula. I'll notice as it cools, it'll stiffen slightly, become firmer. As the meringue cools, you'll even hear the tone change, deepen as it's whipping. It'll leave tracks more thoroughly, completely. And it should feel about room temperature. I'm going to incorporate the meringue into my paste in 3 parts. The first addition is always the hardest to get in. It'll be extremely stiff. It is important that you get it in thoroughly, otherwise you won't have a smooth paste for the remainder of your mix. I prefer to use a bowl scraper to a spatula because I have a little more leverage. I'm putting the second addition of meringue in here now. This will be a little bit easier to get in. Again, it's really important that it's thoroughly distributed. I should see no streaks of color, white or darker purple for that matter. Once I have that thoroughly incorporated, my last addition goes in. The inclusion of honey in this macaroon makes it really special. It enhances the texture of the shell dramatically. When just using sugar in that meringue, you get a very crisp shell and a soft interior. This gives you a slightly softer shell on there, which transitions more nicely in through that filling. It's a very pleasant texture. The paste needs to be able to fall back on itself. And finally done folding.